Have you ever had that frustrating situation where your results with Google Ads are going great, you're finally starting to gain some decent momentum, and then bam, out of nowhere, your results start to drop off a cliff? Now, I can't personally tell you how many times this has happened for me, regardless of the niche or industry of the e-commerce brand I've been working with. And in this video, I'm going to show you the strategy and step-by-step approach I've developed to basically stop these results from dropping off a cliff and keep the same level of momentum for as long as possible. But to illustrate this better, I'm going to be showing you this e-commerce brand right here, which is under my Google Ads agency or marketing. And I want to show you how we were able to tackle this problem of dropping results and basically scale it to the moon these past few months. So first things first, we actually started working with this brand basically at the end of September, early October, when things were just slightly a bit better. If we take a look at everything that has been happening with this brand, look at it all time, we can see that this brand started basically with Google Ads in October of 2023. During that time, the results were subpar. They weren't really that great. The main return on ad spend goal for this brand has always been a 2.5x and above. So during this time, there was some decent level of profitability, at least in the beginning, which is what made them scale to about $250,000 within a month when it came to last year. However, after that time period in February, March, and April, when things were starting to go up, for whatever reason, results started to die off yet again. And this is not a seasonal brand by any means. It doesn't work any better in January than it should in December. In fact, it's pretty stable year round. So there was this little drop that started to happen. Results were starting to go down with no changes being made to the strategy. Basically, everything was as consistent as it should be. So what exactly happened which made this drop stop in its path and basically go all the way up to brand new highs? I mean, just in the month of October so far, we have generated roughly $342,000, and we still have one more day in October when I'm recording this video. So it's an all-time high with Google Ads. Things are scaling. Well, first thing you want to understand is there's three major reasons why a drop like this even happens when it comes to Google Ads. Reason number one, season. If your brand is season-based, there's specific seasons where the search volume booms and there's other seasons where the search volume is not so good, then it's going to be obvious why there's a drop happening during your off season. There's few things you can do, however, it's very limited. Second reason why is external factors, things such as other ad platform results, things such as website changes you made, things such as some products going out of stock that were once bestsellers, or even what you did in the back end in terms of changing up the back end optimizations like the product feed or the retargeting strategy, so on and so forth. And third and final reason has to do with your Google Ads strategy directly. Now, this could be things like the campaign approaches dying out. This could be new competition entering the market, or even new policy violations coming around within your Google Merchant Center, which you're not aware of. These things can directly impact your results with Google Ads. One of these three reasons was the main reason why this brand was struggling to scale, which I'll go over very shortly. But that's kind of what we have seen for the brands we work with under my agency, which, by the way, if you run a brand doing $1 million a year, you need extra help scaling your brand to the next level, go on my website at yourmarketing.com and schedule a free call with me, and let's see if we can potentially work together and make that happen. But let's start off by discussing how do you deal with a drop if it's season-based. Now, one strategy which has worked wonders for us is to re-diversify our approach and make it go more towards broader keywords within the markets. You cannot go after the narrower keywords because if it's already narrow, more likely than not, it already has lower search volume and it's going to drop even further during the off season. So this will ensure that the search volume goes a little bit higher than what it's at right now for your products, for your niche. So you're ranking for these higher search term keywords with shopping ads, search ads, and anything else you may be doing. And you can do the same thing with campaigns. You can let go of some of the restrictions, set them free, because before in the season, it may have been very easy to hit those goals you had set up within your campaigns. However, during the off season, it's going to be very difficult to set those ROAS goals, to set those profitability goals. But those are two of the main ways to go about targeting when it comes to seasonality. Second issue, external factors. This is pretty straightforward. If you made a specific change on another ad platform, for instance, that's what happened right here, where their Facebook ads results were basically starting to tank, and as a result, across the board, they were shutting off their campaigns. They were lowering the budgets, not on Google Ads. The Google Ads budget was the exact same. It wasn't changing. However, because Google's algorithm noticed a decrease in demand in terms of monthly search volume naturally, because the Facebook ads results were going down, so lesser number of people were coming from Facebook onto Google. What happened is naturally Google's algorithm also started to lower the ad spend, and the return on ad spend started to decrease, which caused the agency that was working with this brand to also decrease the ad spend. So it was kind of like a little funnelish effect where at the top the Facebook ad spend was turned off, and as a result at the bottom the Google ad spend was negatively impacted, and as a result it had to also be turned off. Of course, a better strategy would have helped in this situation so that it doesn't rely just on Facebook ads, but those are things that can impact your Google ads results. External ad platforms going to zero, maybe there's some issues happening, problems happening with these external ad platforms. Second issue that can happen is website changes. If you make a sudden change to your website, landing page improvements, whatever the case may be, what's going to happen is it's going to either have a neutral impact, a positive impact, or a negative impact. And you want to be aware of this, that anytime you change the landing page, even slightly, now the users are going to be interacting with a different landing page. And if it's not that great of a change, what's going to happen is that's going to negatively impact your conversion rates on Google. Your quality score will start to go down, and as a result, Google will stop sending your brand high quality traffic. So you have to be very aware of this and do A/B testing properly when it comes to the website changes. You want to basically be tracking and seeing what changes were made and ensure that if it's not working for a 7 to 14 day period, you revert back on those changes, go back to how it originally was. But the third biggest reason, and also one reason why this brand started to struggle all of a sudden here, is because of the Google ad strategy. So one thing that this brand had going on during that time, which also contributed besides just lowering Facebook ads demand, is there were a lot of campaigns running during this time. If we look right here in total, there were a bunch of campaigns, roughly 44 campaigns running during this time before we actually took over. And as I always say in any of my videos, you want to make it very straightforward. You want to ensure that it's simple, it's not too complex. And this approach right here with 44 campaigns was anything but simple. Although things looked like they were scaling, what was happening was over time, the algorithm was getting overwhelmed with too much inputs from these campaigns, too much data entering the system from all sides and angles. And although you may think that more data is better, it's not always the case. You want to always be focusing on quality of the data versus quantity of the data. There was just too much complexity here, which was causing these campaigns to really not perform as expected. So what we had to do, we had to follow a 3-step process to make this work. We began by doing simplification. Basically came in, simplified the entire approach, and only left what was number one working, and number two, what was actually profitable. Because there were a lot of campaigns from these 44 which were actually just sitting there and they were spending money, but they were really not that profitable. So we came in, we narrowed it down to just 12 different campaigns which needed to be run. That was the first step, simplification, which led us then to optimization. Because once we had shut up a lot of those campaigns, those 28, 29 different campaigns, we came in here and we optimized the rest which were running within this account. We restructured the campaigns in total to ensure there was more of a TPS approach in place, which stands for testing, profitability, and scaling. So instead of now having a bunch of different products that are very different from each other, all running together inside one lump sum campaign, we segregated things out. So the products that were getting tested, they were run separately from the products that were profitable and scaling. And this segregation again was done to help the algorithm and guide it towards the right user. And when we did the segregation, the number one thing I noticed was the quality of the audience literally started to increase overnight. There was this higher conversion rates, and as a result, the ROAS was starting to increase, and the quality score as a result of these two was also starting to increase. So we fixed up the campaign approach there, and competition is one of the main reasons also why your brand can stop performing in this situation. It was not necessarily the competition, but just the lack of this brand right here to compete properly with the high perceived value approach. And if there is competition that's entering your market and you have done research to figure out, for example, if you do a keyword research for one of your broader keywords, you notice some newer competitors coming in the market, the best way to beat them is not by undercutting the pricing, it's rather to incorporate things which other brands have not done. Like for example, Prusa Research has reviews here where no other brands have reviews. Best way to stand out even with new competitors entering the market. You could also do things like what Toybox did right here, where all of these printer images, they're very bold and in your face, and then this Toybox image of this printer, it's more in the distance, more in the background, and it's enough to gain your attention. Or you could even do something like this where you add certain colors that are bright of different things, different products, background images, etc., which help guide a user's attention towards your best way to beat the competition and to deal with basically Google as results dropping off click. Finally, policy violations. Again, you would have to check the merchant center and basically undo all those policy violations. Very important. But once the optimization phase was done for this brand, once we figured out what was working, what wasn't, and basically optimized it, then it was time to scale. So in the last 30 days, we can see based on the previous 30 days, results have been increasing just as we would want it to be. So if we scroll all the way down, we can see revenue is up 21%. Right here, ROAS is up 3.27%. All across the board, things look positive for this brand, all because we simplified, then optimized, and then finally scaled. But if you run a brand doing $1 million a year, you need extra help scaling your brand to the next level, go on my website at yourmarketing.com and schedule a free call with me, and let's see if we can potentially work together and make that happen.